So yesterday I released a new video on the channel. It was a Riding with Seeker video, and that video was about the supposed silver shortage and how I don't believe that there's a silver shortage. I also talked about in that video the silver squeeze going back to February 2021 and how I don't believe that that was very helpful to the community. In fact, I think it was more harmful than helpful. And I want to talk about both of those things once again today, but the reason I do is because I got a lot of comments in that video yesterday, and I got into some comment discussions with a few people that left comments about, that disagreed with me, because I don't live in an echo chamber. I like to hear other people's opinions, other people's arguments, and at the end of the day, if I don't agree with them, that's fine, but at least I listened. And by the way, that video, while I said yesterday, was probably a couple of days for you guys. As I record this, it was yesterday. But I wanted to talk about the silver squeeze a little bit more. I wanted to talk about the supposed silver shortage a little bit more. And additionally, I want to say that there is actually one counter argument I can make that actually supports the fact that there may be a small silver shortage, but I'll tell you why there's a big caveat to that in this video. So really quick, before we get into it, if you guys are new here, if you like videos like this, if you want to learn more about silver stacking, gold stacking, things like that, numismatics, do me a favor, don't forget to make sure you're subscribed. It's free, and it really helps the channel out. Don't forget to hit that like to help YouTube recommend this video to others. And let's get into it. We'll talk about some silver. Okay, well, I want to start off with talking about what the silver squeeze was. I also want to apologize. If you guys watched the Riding with Seeker video the other day, you're probably going to hear me repeat myself once or twice in this video. I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but to cover some of the comments that were left in that video yesterday, I'm going to have to say something once or twice that I said yesterday as well, just to get my point across. But I wanted to start with a little bit of history. What was the silver squeeze? What did it do good? What did it do bad? And why do I believe that it actually ended up ultimately hurting stackers? Well, the silver squeeze started all the way back in February 1st of 2021, I believe was the initial raid day. I might be off by a day up or down, but anyway, it was right then and there. And what happened was the idea behind the silver squeeze, it started with a group on Wall Street Bets, which formed Wall Street Silver on Reddit. And it was a group of guys that believed that if we could drain the comics of available physical silver, that it would force them, they essentially performing a squeeze, it would force them to have to buy it back at a higher price, therefore making spot price skyrocket. And so they got a bunch of people together and they had what they called a silver raid. They went on all these websites like AppMax, SD, and all the others, and they bought as much silver as they can, basically trying to buy them out of everything that they had available. Well, AppMax and some others responded by pulling everything off of their website until the markets opened back up that Sunday. So in other words, if you went to AppMax, they basically had nothing available at all. And I believe, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fly on the wall at AppMax, but my assumption is that they were concerned that it was going to work. And so if everyone bought all of the silver that AppMax had available, and then the markets opened and the numbers skyrocketed because it worked to like 40 an ounce, everything they just sold, they were going to take a loss on, because in order to replace it, they would have to pay more than what they just sold it for. Understood. But when the markets opened back up Sunday, and I mean, it was very quick. You saw AppMax and all the other sites that pulled silver have it available again immediately. It was almost instant that they had it on their site. But the difference was the premiums had actually went up quite a bit. So you were looking at $1.50, maybe $1, maybe 75 cents for generic silver rounds before the silver squeeze happened. After everything became available again, you saw silver rounds at 5, 6 over spot, sometimes even more. And silver eagles jumped from like 350 to 12. It was crazy, and they still ended up selling out. And what happened was, for about 6 to 7 weeks after, it was really hard to find silver. Like, it looked like it worked. There was very little silver available for anyone to order, and when you did order it, the shipping delays were weeks in advance. If you ordered, you would have to wait 7-8 weeks just to get it. Fast forward to today. What has happened? Well, the premiums haven't really come back down to where they were pre-squeeze level. So, in fact, silver eagles, as we just talked about, the premiums are as high as they were right now back in February. The silver rounds, while they have come down, are nowhere near that $1.50 or better over spot. In fact, I think the cheapest we saw online in the last video we did where we checked on premiums was $3.69 over spot for silver rounds. Silver bars even are way over spot. Outside of some awesome Black Friday deals, it's really hard to get silver at a good premium right now, especially with the online retailers. Sometimes you can get lucky in local shops, but even most local shops have it very, very high. So why is that? Is it because there's a silver shortage? I mean, some of the arguments that I had in the comments say there is a silver shortage because the production in silver mining is down like 25%. In other words, there's 25% less silver coming out of the ground than there was before the pandemic. Okay, fair enough. But every one of the shops that I've called, and I mean, that is dozens of shops, have all had silver available. In fact, if you remember, in one of the videos that I did where I was calling around to see what they were paying for silver rounds and silver eagles, the lady said specifically that they weren't paying very strong on silver rounds because they just bought a bunch and they had more than they needed. In fact, I think she said that day alone, they bought like 1,500 ounces across the counter. That's a lot of silver. And every single shop all had the same thing in common. They all had it available. Every single one of them had silver in stock. They had eagles in stock. They were ready to sell them to you. Now, the premiums were high, but they had them. So the question becomes, and this is something that kind of clicked in my head. It actually wasn't a comment that was left, but if it was, I didn't see it, and I'm not trying to steal someone's comment. But what clicked in my head, is it possible that the high premiums are what is preventing the silver shortage? And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons as to why I'm possibly thinking this. So let's take a look at silver eagles. For example, the premiums right now, $10 to $12 over spot. There's a lot of people that commented on the video yesterday that said they aren't buying silver eagles because the premiums are too high. There's other people that isn't buying silver at all because the premiums are just too high and they're not willing to pay the premiums on this silver. In fact, there was one commenter, not on yesterday's video, but on a previous one, that said he would rather pay 30, like as in spots at 30 plus 2 than 25 plus 5. And 25 plus 5 obviously is lower than 30 plus 2. In other words, 30 plus 2, you're paying 32 an ounce. 25 plus 5, you're paying 30 an ounce. He would rather wait till it gets to 30 and pay $2 over and pay 32 an ounce than pay 30 an ounce today. And so that made me think, along with something else I'll bring up, is that maybe the premiums are the reason there's no silver shortage. Maybe the premiums are preventing it in the first place. Maybe the premiums are so high that it's actually stifling the amount of people that are wanting to buy silver, and as a result, it's keeping the supply ample. So a good example of this, and like I said, I'd bring this up, is if you look back at the Black Friday deals, which I did reference earlier in this video. Look back at the Black Friday deals. On Black Friday, APMEX's website basically slowed to a crawl. Minty Mike must have been working there because their site was crashing as bad as the US Mint's. And that's because everyone was very interested in getting those awesome deals that they had on silver and gold. They had silver rounds and gold at spot. They had low premium silver rounds. It was crazy. And their website came to a crawl. So is it possible that if the premiums came down, that the demand would increase so much that there would be a shortage? So the argument can be made. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is speculation. It is something you have to think about on your own. I'm not going to tell you yes or no, because the truth is I don't know the answer to this, and there's no way to, in my opinion, get an answer to prove it outside of lowering the premiums down. But is it possible that the only reason that there's not an actual physical silver shortage is because the premiums are so high that it's preventing it, because a lot of people are not wanting to buy silver because of high premiums? It would be interesting to see what happens if premiums came back down to normal levels with the huge amount of extra people that are stacking silver right now. I mean, look at the economy and inflation. People are scared right now of inflation. So a lot of people are investing in cryptocurrencies. There are people investing in precious metals, basically getting their money out of fiat. But with the premiums as high as they are on silver, maybe people would rather just get into crypto or something else. So the argument can definitely be made that the only reason there's not a shortage is because the demand is lower as a result of premiums. So let me know what you think about that down below. I would love to hear your guys' comments. Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, if silver eagles came back down to 3 or 350 over, if rounds came back down to $1 to $1.50, if bars came back down to 50 to 75 cents, like big bars like this, would you buy more silver? It's interesting. I wonder how many people would. So leave a comment and let me know. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave that comment like I just said. Make sure you like it to help YouTube recommend it to others. Make sure you're subscribed, and we will see you in the very next video. Thanks, guys.